We're going to talk about what has happened in Ukraine on this day of the Russian invasion. We'll examine the actions and the strategies, both military and political. Now, if this is your first time watching, my name is Darren Gertis. I'm a professor who's built multiple leadership programs at Charleston Southern University. So we'll also view these events through the lens of leadership. And I also wrote a book about Zelensky called I Need Ammunition, Not a Ride, and you can find it on Amazon.
Okay, it is Saturday, the 2nd of July, and here's what's going on. Lysychansk has not fallen, but it doesn't seem like it has much time. If you roll back the clock, you just see continual encroachment toward Lysychansk. The artillery is just going daily, and so I don't think there's much time left for Lysychansk. The Ukrainian officials say that Lysychansk remains in their hands. For now, I don't know that it can be very long. Ukrainian officials say it remains in Ukrainian hands despite claims from Russia that the city has been brought under control. Um, my guess is that they're retreating right now and trying not to lose more than they have to as they make a tactical withdrawal. Now, the assessment from the Institute for the Study of War is that Ukrainian forces likely have done that, conducted a deliberate withdrawal from the city, resulting in Russian seizure as of July 2nd, but it's hard to tell what's actually going on. Russian forces will likely establish control over the remaining territory of Lysychansk. So let's go back to the deep state map and look at this. This is, let's go to today and look at again how much is how encapsulated they are. Here is the line of the state border for the Luhansk, and they're going to drive this way as soon as they can and then claim victory over the Luhansk region. Fierce battles again near Lysychansk. However, fortunately, the city is not surrounded, is not under control of the Ukrainian army, said the Speaker of the National Guard, and from the Russian side. And so, yeah, it's bad. Okay, in other news, the Pentagon confirms that the retreat from Russian Snake Island was not just a gift. Well, the Russians confirmed that when they bombed them with phosphorus bombs. The U.S. Defense Department does not believe that there is any credence to Russia saying its retreat from Snake Island in the Black Sea was a gesture of goodwill. Of course, it wasn't a gesture of goodwill. I mean, what they they then bombed them with phosphorus. Um, then over 10,000 residents of Mariupol imprisoned by occupiers. So they're setting up essentially what amounts to some kind of concentration camps and have civilians in there. The mayor is calling on the International Committee of the Red Cross to intervene. It's bad. Okay, other news. The U.S. is going to send advanced surface-to-air missiles. I don't know why we didn't send these before, but now we're finally going to two NASAMS surface-to-air missile systems and plenty of rounds of ammunition for the 155s. And that's what that is. RT. Let's turn our attention to RT now. Hungary. This is Russian television, and they're going to be seeing it through a particular filter. Hungary is saying that a ceasefire in Ukraine is what we need, not more sanctions. Of course, they like the idea of not more sanctions, and they're going to like a ceasefire as soon as they grab enough territory. Oban, he's the prime minister who's tight with Putin, explained that the majority of EU countries believe in imposing sanctions. He said Hungary, despite having some red lines, including an oil embargo, has chosen to swim with the tide on this strategy. So, what are Russia's manpower losses in Ukraine? So, we know that there's at least 20,000 ish, maybe at least 15,000, probably closer to 20,000 Russians killed in Ukraine. The Ukrainians are claiming 35,000, and you might think that that's just an inflated number, but it's not just Russians. It's Russians and their conscripts and their people that are coming to fight for them as mercenaries, and people in the Donetsk People's Republic and Luhansk People's Republic, the people that are militia, that are Ukrainians that are fighting in militia for Russia, that have very terrible, very low quality of a training before they go into this, and then they're slaughtered. And so this number may actually be accurate. My guess is a little bit lower. It's probably a little bit inflated, but they maybe they have ground truth. I just don't know. It's hard to get real accurate data And there's this article in Radio Free Europe today, why it's difficult to measure progress in Ukraine. And the interviewer is talking about like, here's what you want to keep your eye on if you want to understand what's going on there. When I look at the different policy decisions that they're making inside Russia, they think that they believe that they can still achieve their aims. That's kind of a scary thought. They're already looking to a future world where they're attempting to annex parts of Luhansk and Donetsk and Zaporizhia and Kherson. So they're trying to establish this region as those breakaway regions or maybe become parts of Russia. Now, uh, okay, so what about long and short term? Do they have enough to do it? In the short term, they're clearly scraping from whatever they can to avoid a full-scale mobilization. That is because they declared a special operation rather than a war. They can't really like, just create a draft and that kind of thing. So they have a very limited set of things that they can do. Now, the interviewer also said, looking further ahead, what they've done to their professional enlisted force is that they basically committed all of it from the Army and the Air Force to this war. They've taken significant casualties, and people do not wish to participate anymore. Many are not going to reenlist, so I think we need to pay attention to signs about recruitment and retention, and that'll give us some telling signals about what's actually going on. Okay, two more articles and we'll be done. So the first was just this really odd, interesting thing, taking on Putin through porn, how Russians are finding out the truth about Ukraine. Now, you know that the internet is basically locked down. You can only get state media approved news. So there is this one woman, Anastasia Bachenko, who made an emotional plea. She wanted money for not for weapons or clothes, but for advertisements, so that she could actually get the truth out. Now, she was a CEO at a Ukrainian digital marketing company. And so at first she was targeting Google and Facebook and those kind of things, trying to get news out, and then that got clamped down. The fake news law, you can get 15 years in jail. So if all else failed, she had put advertisements on through porn. Now, why porn? Because it's not terribly regulated. It's kind of a black market-ishy thing to begin with, and so she put it out there. And she was part of a bigger network. The money came in, operation expanded. She reckons that their ads have reached hundreds of millions of Russian internet users. Now, that's a sad thing because there's hundreds of millions of Russian internet users steeped in porn, but the information resistance is working, and she's getting her message out that way. Just a fascinating little article about what's actually going on in Russia as they're kind of locked down from information that the West clearly sees. Okay, the last one is this Time magazine article, how the Russians media spread false claims about Ukrainian Nazis. Okay, so I've highlighted and I'm manipulating this because I'm using this in my as I update my book, a data set. So here's the same article here, a data set of nearly 8 million articles about Ukraine collected from more than 8,000 Russian websites since 2014 shows that references to Nazism were relatively flat for 8 years and then spiked on February 24th and remain high ever since. So what they're saying is there was nothing about Ukrainian Nazis. It's kind of like, when did Donald Trump become a racist? When he became a Republican who ran for president. Then there's all this like, he's a racist. I mean, there's all kinds of articles about that. You didn't see it much, anything about that before, but then when he became a Republican, it changed. So here's the same thing. Semantic Visions, a defense analytic companies, they give this overview of Russia's attempt to justify its attack by Ukraine and maintain, so by falsely portraying Ukraine as being overrun by far-right extremists. So you have all these news stories that Ukrainian Nazis are using non-combatants as human shields, killing Ukrainian civilians, planning a genocide of Russians. Okay, and so this is intended for Putin to justify this, what was supposed to be this quick overthrow of Ukraine, and it didn't happen that way. We're 120 28, 29, something like that, days later, and it's just, wow, what happened? Okay, the common Russian understanding of Nazism, though, is different than our understanding of Nazism in America. Our understanding is, Hitler and killing the Jews and anti-Semitism and all that stuff. Their understanding is anything that's the antithesis of the Soviet Union, rather than just a persecution of the Jews. So it doesn't matter that Zelensky is actually Jewish. They don't really factor that in. I mean, to our mind, is like, he's Jewish. He's not a Nazi. But their mind is just, he's anti-Soviet. Okay. So, the success of this propaganda campaign has deep roots in Russian history. The war against Nazism is really the defining moment of the 20th century for Russia. Okay, I can get that. I mean, it's pretty big to Americans as well. The key feature of Russian propaganda is its repetitiveness. Since the invasion, 10 to 20% of the articles about Ukraine have mentioned Nazism according to their data. And now I believe that that's true, and here's why. I watch RT, I watch Russian television. You can watch it through Rumble. You can subscribe through Rumble to RT. You can't get it anywhere else. And when I do, it's fascinating. They'll mention Nazism all the time in their reporting, and they'll show these things about 2014 and Donbass and how the Nazis are doing whatever. I mean, it's constant. It helps them justify these atrocities, like in Bucha, right? It helps them to create this dichotomy of black and white. The Nazis are bad, so we're good. We have the moral right to do these things. They highlight the Azov battalion, which does probably feature a number of neo-Nazis in it, but that doesn't mean that the government is. And then finally, the article said for Russia, it's a perfect opportunity. It's like we've been smearing them for so long and they're still here. They're fighting so we can justify our tactics to destroying Mariupol because we have to destroy these Nazis. And the article concludes with the person being interviewed about propaganda saying the current Ukrainian state is not a Nazi state by any stretch of the imagination. I would concur that that's probably a pretty fair statement. Um, and he said, I would argue that what Putin is actually afraid of is a spread of democracy and pluralism from Ukraine to Russia. And I've seen that again and again in analysis, and I think that's also correct. Okay, that's it for Saturday. The second, I hope that helps inform you and help you understand what's really going on in Ukraine.
Hey, if this video was helpful, hit like to help others find it in YouTube's algorithm. Subscribe so that you can stay informed. And one more thing, if you are moved to contribute to the humanitarian aid for Ukraine, I have a link below for Samaritan's Purse. If you want to give, be sure to give only to reputable organizations. There's a lot of scammers out there. Thanks for your time.